I believe I've made myself rather clear.
Yes, of course. I'm simply trying to understand the reasoning behind the decision.
You may be used to the Empire bowing to your every whim, but I'm afraid you'll find the Thalmor received no such treatment here. You are a guest of the college, here at the pleasure of the Archmage. I hope you appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, of course. The Archmage has my thanks.
Very good. Then we're done here.
This is the Archmage right here. Hello.
You are new here, are you not? We have not spoken.
No, we have not.
Then allow me to introduce myself. I am Savos Arin, Archmage of the College of Winterhold. I am quite content to see nearly any aspect of magic explored and investigated here. But I do not and will not approve of any research or experiments that cause purposeful harm to your fellow members of the college. Are we clear?
Yeah, I guess. I understand. Dangerous research must be a problem here.
Not often, no. Some risks must be taken to be sure. I am simply trying to avoid untimely deaths. We also must make an effort to avoid worsening what Skyrim thinks of us.
Well, I'd like to know more about the college's history.
I've seen documents dating back to the late Second Era. Beyond that, it's hard to say. Events in the last several hundred years resulted in a significant loss of our history, I'm afraid.
What's happened in the last few hundred years?
The Great Collapse, as it has come to be known. An unfortunate natural disaster that ravaged the area. The college fared far better than the city of Winterhold, but it was not left untouched.
What caused the Great Collapse?
No one is sure of the cause. Some believe the eruption of Red Mountain had far-reaching consequences that were only felt years later. I know there are some who have blamed the college, said that we were responsible. I assure you this is not the case.
So, the eruption at Red Mountain, is that Morrowind, and is that what is going on in what happened with Elder Scrolls Online? I forget. Is Elder Scrolls Online before? I think it's before Skyrim. Hang on. Okay, so no, the dates are way off. Skyrim is like they say a millennium, which is what, 1,000 years after Elder Scrolls Online. So Elder Scrolls Online is actually one of the furthest in history, like furthest back in history games for Elder Scrolls. I'm not sure about like the very first Elder Scrolls game, like Elder Scrolls 1. I think it went by a different name back then, actually. But yeah, okay. Nope, it's not the same as the Morrowind zone in Elder Scrolls Online that he was talking about. So tell me more about this great collapse.
The Sea of Ghosts practically came alive. No one was expecting it. Monstrous waves battered the shore for weeks on end. Winterhold was ancient and weathered, but it couldn't withstand the sea's fury. Entire districts of the city were lost overnight. The waves receded in time, but the damage was irreversible. Most residents of Winterhold abandoned what was left of the city. The college survived, and so here we remain.
And what's the purpose of the college?
Purpose? I should think it's self-evident. Magic is a true power, not something to be shunned by commoners or treated as an amusing diversion by politicians. It shapes worlds, creates and destroys life. It deserves proper respect and study. The college is a place where we can focus on that, without the pressures of the world weighing down on us.
Okay.
Now, if you'll excuse me.
Well, I hope you'll excuse me because I got stuff to do. So, that's just a class in there. If we were going to go to the College of Winterhold quest line, we'd go in there and get a lesson. Ah, the library. Hey.
I don't want to see you treating any of these books poorly. Are we clear?
Okay.
You are now in the Arcanium, of which I am in charge. It might as well be my own little plane of oblivion. Disrupt my Arcanium, and I will have you torn apart by angry Atronachs. Now, do you require assistance?
Yeah. I'm looking for an Elder Scroll.
And what do you plan to do with it? Do you even know what you're asking about? Or are you just someone's errand girl?
Tell me more about the Elder Scroll.
I knew it. Everyone comes in here expecting my help, but they don't even have the proper questions. An Elder Scroll is an instrument of immense knowledge and power. To read an Elder Scroll, a person must have the most rigorously trained mind, or else risk madness. Even so, the Divines usually take the reader's sight as a price.
Interesting. A price for what?
The simplest way to put it is knowledge, but there's nothing simple about an Elder Scroll. It's a reflection of all possible futures and all possible pasts. Each reader sees different reflections through different lenses, and may come away with a different reading. But at the same time, all of it is true, even the falsehoods, especially the falsehoods.
Okay. Who wrote the Elder Scrolls?
It would take a month to explain to you how that very question doesn't even make sense. The scrolls exist here, with us, but also beyond and beneath, before and after. They are bits of divine-made substance, so we could know them. Sorry, talking about the scrolls, you usually end up in irritating and vague metaphors like that. Some people who study them devoutly go mad.
Okay, so do you have one that I could use?
You think that even if I did have one here, I would let you see it? It would be kept under the highest security. The greatest thief in the world wouldn't be able to lay a finger on it.
Oh, that's too bad. Does that mean you don't have one? What about the Dragonborn?
What about? Wait, are you? Were you the one the Greybeards were calling? I'll bring everything we have on them, but it's not much. So don't get your hopes up. It's mostly lies, leavened with rumor and conjecture.
Okay. This is quite an impressive library.
A mage is only as good as what he knows. I try to make sure as much knowledge is available as possible. We've been keeping this collection since the Second Era. Books have come and gone during that time, but it's mostly intact.
So I could get like miscellaneous quests this way, but I'm not with the question, is there any college business I can assist with? But I'm not going to. I can buy stuff.
I have a few things laying around that weren't worth adding to the collection. You may look through them.
Oop. I guess I forgot that he had books, but they aren't like special books, I don't think. Like skill books. Okay. Yes.
Until next time.
Please Please let me see those Elder Scroll books. Here they are.
Here you go. Try not to spill anything on them.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, he has like high level rare books behind here. I'm not sure if I've actually ever gotten in there. I feel like I've heard that there are quests where you need to get a book from like within these areas, but I've never done them, so that's something to look into in the future. Okay, so we had books here. Oh, this quest. How many pages is this? I'll go through kind of slowly. You can read it if you want. Or maybe I'll just read it because it's part of the quest. Okay, Ruminations on the Elder Scrolls by Septimus Cygnus, College Winterhold. Imagine living beneath the waves with a strong-sided blessing of most excellent fabric. Holding the fabric over your gills, you would begin to breathe, drink its warp and whift. Through the plant matter fibers imbue your soul, the wretched plankton would pollute the cloth until it stank to heavens of prophecy. This is one manner in which the scrolls first came to pass. Are we the sea, or the breather, or the fabric? Or are we the breath itself? Can we flow through the knowledge as throw through the skull? Can we flow through the scrolls as knowledge flows through being the water? Or are we the stuck morasses of sea filth that gathers on the edge? Imagine again this time, but different. A bird cresting the wind is lifted by a gust and downed by a stone. But the stone can come up from above if the bird is upside down. Where did the gust come from, and in which direction? Did the gods send either, or has the bird decreed their presence by her own mind-making? Ugh. The all-sight of the scrolls makes a turning of the mind such that relative positions and absolute in their primacy. I ask you again to imagine for me, this time you are beneath the ground. A tiny acorn planted by some well-meaning elf maiden of the woodlands for her pleasure. You wish to grow, but fear what you may become. So you push off the water, the dirt, the sun, to stay in your hole. But it is in the very pushing that you become a tree. In spite of yourself. How did that happen? The acorn is a kind of tree. Egg in this instance, and the knowledge is water and sun. We are the chicken inside the egg, but also the dirt. The knowledge of the scrolls is what we push against to become full-sided ourselves. Our final imagining before your mind closes from the shock of ever knowing. You are now a flame burning bright blue within a vast emptiness. In time, you see your brothers and sisters burning of their own in the distance and along your side. A sea of pinpoints, a constellation of memories. Each burns bright, then flickers. Then two more take its place, but not forever, lest the void fills with rancid light that sucks the thought. Each of our minds is actually the emptiness, and the learnings of the scroll are the pinpoints. Without their stabbing light, my consciousness would be as a vast nothingness. None knowing its emptiness as a void is unknowing of itself, but the burnings are dangerous and must be carefully tended and minded and brought to themselves and spread to their siblings. Oh my god, if this book is anything like how the Elder Scrolls actually read, I can understand why people go crazy. That is just, yeah, terrible, terrible book. effects of the Elder Scrolls. It is widely known among scholars that the Elder Scrolls entail a certain hazard in their very reading. The mechanism of the effects has at present been largely unknown. Theories of hidden knowledge and divine retribution were the subject of idle speculation with little investigation. I, Justinus Paulinus, have undertaken to thoroughly document the ailments afflicted by the Elder Scrolls on their readers, though a unified theory of how they manifest continues to elude me and remain a subject for future study. I have grouped the effects into 4, finding that the avenue of experience depends largely upon the mind of the reader. If this is unclear, I hope that a proper dichotomy will lay it plain. Group the first. The naifs. For one who has received no training in the history or nature of the Elder Scrolls, the scroll itself is effectively inert. No prophecy can be scryed, nor knowledge obtained. While the scroll will not impart learning to the uninformed, nor will it afflict them in any adverse fashion, visually the scroll will appear to be awash in odd lettering and symbols. Those who know their astronomy often claim to recognize constellations in the patterns and connections, but such conjecture is impossible to further investigate, since the very nature of the study necessitates unlearned subjects. Group the second, the unguarded intellects. It is this second group that realizes the greatest danger from attempting to read the scrolls. These are subjects who have an understanding of the nature of the Elder Scrolls and possess sufficient knowledge to actually read what is inscribed there. They have not, however, developed adequate discipline to stave off the mind-shattering effect of having a glimpse of infinity. These unfortunate souls are struck immediately, irreversibly, and completely blind. Such is the price for overreaching one's faculties. It bears mentioning, though, that with the blindness also comes a fragment of that hidden knowledge. Whether the future, the past, or the deep natures of being is dependent on the individual and their place in the greater spheres, but the knowledge does come. Group the third, meditated understanding. Alone in Tamriel, it would appear that only the cult of the ancestor moth has developed the discipline to properly guard one's mind when reading the scrolls. Their initiates must undergo the most rigorous mental cultivations, and they often spend a decade or more at the monastery before being allowed to read their first Elder Scroll. The monks say this is for the initiate's own protection, as they must have witnessed many unguarded intellects among their more eager ranks. With the appropriate fortitude, these readers also receive blindness, though at a far lesser magnitude than the unguarded. Their vision fogs slightly, and they retain shape and color and enough acuity to continue to read mundane texts. The knowledge they gain from the scroll is also tempered somewhat. It requires stages of meditation and reflection to fully appreciate and express what one saw. Group the fourth, illuminated understanding. Between the previous group and this one exists a continuum that has at present only been traversed by the monks of the ancestor moth. With continued reading, the monks become gradually more and more blind and receive greater and more detailed knowledge. As they spend their waking hours pondering the revelations, they also receive a further degree of mental fortitude. There is for every monk a day of penultimate reading, when the only knowledge the Elder Scroll imparts is that the monk's next reading shall be his last. For each monk, the I cannot say that. Penultimate reading comes at a different and unknowable time. Preliminary work has been done to predict the occurrence by charting the severity of an individual monk's blindness, but all who reach these later stages report the increasing blindness seems to taper with increased reading. Some post the notion that some other unseen sense is, in fact, continue to diminish at these upper range, but I shall leave such postulations to philosophers. To prepare for his ultimate reading, a monk typically withdraws to seclusion in order to reflect upon a lifetime of revelations and appoint his mind for reception of his last. Upon this final reading, he is forever blinded, as sure as those unguarded ones who race to knowledge. The illuminated one, though, has retained his understanding over a lifetime and typically possesses a more integral notion of what has been revealed to him. It is hoped that this catalog will provide useful to those who wish to further our mortal understanding of the Elder Scrolls. The moth priests remained aloof about these matters, taking the gradual debilation that comes with reading as a point of pride. May this serve as a useful starting point for those hoping to take up such a study. Dictated to Anastasius Mitchum, 4th of Last Seed, in 126th year of the Second Era. This is like one of the oldest books that they have. That is interesting. I wonder, well, you find out pretty quickly in Elder Scrolls Online that the prophet was blinded because he read the Elder Scrolls. I wonder if he was the unprepared who blind quickly, or if he was able to meditate and be more like a third grouping. Group third? No. Well, I guess it could be 2, 3, or 4. But he wasn't a moth priest. Although I think I do remember him saying that that's where he went to read an Elder Scroll, is a monastery of the moth priests. I don't know where they are. I wonder. Man, I tend to do a lot of researching when I'm playing this game. It's just like, I don't know that. I'm gonna look it up online. Well, it looks like Oblivion, Elder Scrolls Oblivion, has some gameplay that involves the Temple of the Ancestor Moths. And then Elder Scrolls Online has a little bit also. I guess maybe you can meet somebody in Skyrim who is a moth priest, but I don't think we go to any monasteries or anything like that. So that's too bad. That would have been a good reference from my player right now, since we're trying to figure out the Elder Scrolls. Do I need to talk to you again?
I don't want... Hundreds of years have gone into assembling this collection. It's going to stay pristine, understand?
Yeah, so this Ruminations book is incomprehensible.
Aye, that's the work of Septimus Cygnus. He's the world's master of the nature of Elder Scrolls, but, well, he's been gone for a long while. Too long.
Is he dead?
Oh no, I hope not. But even I haven't seen him in years, and we were close. Became obsessed with the Dwemer. Took off north saying he had found some old artifact. Haven't seen him since. Somewhere in the ice fields, if you want to try to find them.
Oh. Okay. So, it's not just me. That book was pretty messed up. So, we're heading off to the ice fields, it sounds like.